is pushing higher at 75.76 US cents compared to Thursday's close of 75.59. The Canadian Grain Commission says producer deliveries of canola are just over 436,000 tons for the week ending October 11th, with terminal receipts of almost 320,000 tons. Canola exports are about 404,000 tons, and domestic usage is just under 225,000 tons. The long-range forecast for the prairies is calling for below normal temperatures for the rest of October. A La Nina is set to dominate North American weather, including Western Canada, for the next 5 months. More rain fell over parts of Brazil and Argentina, aiding the planting of soybeans. However, large portions of both countries are expected to remain dry. The United States Department of Agriculture reports export sales of soybeans are more than 2.63 million tons for the week ending October 8th. The bean sales are slightly over market expectations. Soy meal sales are 152,000 tons, and soy oil sales are 1,400 tons. Export sales of U.S. corn are about 655,000 tons, and within the low end of trade predictions. Total U.S. wheat sales are nearly 600,000 tons, and at the high end of market expectations. Rounding off prices at the Chicago Board of Trade, soybean futures are lower on Friday morning. The November soybean contract is down 3 cents at $10.59 per bushel. December soy oil is virtually unchanged at 33.19 U.S. cents per pound. December soy meal is down $3.90 at $368.20 per hundredweight. Corn futures are slightly higher on Friday morning, with the December contract up 2 cents at $4.06 per bushel. Chicago oats are steady to lower, with the December contract down a half cent at $2.93 per bushel. Wheat futures are mixed on Friday morning. Chicago December is up 3 cents at $6.21. Kansas City December is down 2 cents at $5.55. And Minneapolis December is unchanged at $5.59. That's a look at the ICE futures and the Chicago markets for Friday morning, October 16th. For Markets Farm in Winnipeg, I'm Glenn Halleck.
This year's Value Bonanza sales event at Butler Farm Equipment Limited in Fort St. John gives you more ways to save. Choose 0% financing, cashback, and more on select New Holland tractors, hay and forage products, and materials handling equipment. These offers end December 31st, so make the trip to Butler Farm Equipment Limited in Fort St. John today. You get more choices and more savings when you buy during Value Bonanza. For commercial use only, customer participation subject to credit qualification and CNH Industrial Capital Canada Limited approval. Standard terms, conditions, and other restrictions apply. A down payment may be required.
The opinions expressed during this show do not represent those of this station. If you've missed any of this show, you can follow the podcast at energeticcity.ca. Now, an in-depth look at the news and information shaping our community. This is Moose Talks with your host, Doug Craig, on Moose FM.
Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Moose Talks. We're going to talk election again today. We've invited all the candidates from Peace River North to appear on our program. We did not hear from the NDP candidate Danielle Munro or the BC NDP party. All our calls and emails went unanswered. So today we'll be talking with Dan Davies, the BC Liberal candidate, right after we speak with Trevor Bolin from the Conservative Party of BC, who joins us now. Good morning, Trevor. Welcome to Moose Talks.
Good morning, Dub. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Now, what I wanted to do today was talk a bit about some of the things that were said and talked about at the all candidates meeting, and then a kind of few other additional questions. So I wanted to start with the carbon tax, because this is one way that you and Dan really disagree, it seems. You mentioned, for example, that you think instead of a carbon tax, there needs to be a GHG reduction program that works. So what does that look like? Have you put any thought into what you would advocate for instead of the carbon tax to replace it so that we still see a reduction, or as you put it, see a reduction in GHGs?
That's a fantastic question, Dub. And I can send you the links, because when this used to be my show and it was Trev Talks, not Moose Talks, I interviewed a company out of Alberta that was actually had just gone into a partnership agreement with one of the municipalities in Alberta. And the science that they have behind this project has been used in other countries for decades. And they've had a really hard time making any sort of agreements in British Columbia. And this was the first one that was done in Alberta. But what this product does is it takes municipalities' garbage, the recycling, the refuse that we're filling in landfills. And the science behind it is landfills create up to 30% of GHG's emission in the province of British Columbia. So when you look at the amount of municipalities and regional districts that affects, the amount of pristine land that is taken up from a landfill, including right here in Fort St. John, where the landfill is on the banks of the Peace River, and absolutely beautiful land. So this company designed this system, and they said themselves that they're not even the forerunner in this, that this is being done everywhere, but it immediately reduces 27% of GHGs in municipalities. So getting British Columbia on board and ensuring that we can do that widespread will instantly do more than the carbon tax has ever done since the BC Liberals put it in 12 years ago.
Now, speaking of that carbon tax, if you, as you say, suspend it immediately and perhaps get rid of it eventually if you happen to form government or had some say in it, the federal government, as it stands now, it's the Liberal Party, would then impose a carbon tax on us. So how would you deal with that? And do you think that's better, because it's the reality of what would happen at the moment? Do you think that's still better than the made in BC carbon tax that we have at the moment?
Well, no, I mean, I don't think either of them are better. And we've seen it happen in Alberta. When Alberta removed theirs, they're now in court, trying to ensure that the feds can't institute that or does not have the authority to do that. In our recovery plan was to suspend the carbon tax so that we could look at a pre-COVID, COVID, post-COVID savings for people and ensure that more money was left in their pockets. If the suspension was done in order to help people save money, then we wouldn't need to worry about the feds instituting one, because it was a suspension at that time. So that's why, we have our Made in BC plan that we've always been in favor of scrapping it for years before I was ever the leader. But then we also need to look at what we could do right now. And we put that out. We put that out to government as far as, the ability for people to save instant money. I mean, we're talking just about 9 cents a liter at the pump. We're talking about cheaper groceries, cheaper transportation, cheaper home heating, especially in times like now. People were mentioning last night at the forum in Fort Nelson that, their carbon tax and their taxes on their gas bill cost more than their actual consumption charge, or more than the gas that they're using to heat their homes. It's getting cold. Winter is coming, Dub.
All right, so you'd rather us fight the federal government on that than have their carbon tax and have no carbon tax kind of at all, I guess, hey?
Agreed. I do not, and I still don't believe to this day that the federal government has the authority or should have ever been given the authority to be able to institute that on provinces. So they left it up to the provinces. BC's had it in far longer than anybody else. Our recommendation, my recommendation, was to suspend it to save people money during these times, especially during COVID. And then, they want to see a plan. You know what? It doesn't have to be a carbon tax plan. Let's go to them with proven data that we can reduce GHGs by upwards of 27%, anywhere from 27 to 30% was the science. So tell me, why would they ever fight a plan that does something that they've never been able to do?
All right, Trevor, we'll have to leave that one there for now. I want to switch to Site C. Now, at least at our All Candidates Forum here in Fort St. John, you and Dan both expressed support for the continuation of the project, but there seems to be news coming out every other day about the financial viability of it. It keeps going up in costs. There's some problems perhaps with the pouring of concrete and sort of the foundation of it perhaps being a safety issue. I have to ask, even though you're in favor of this project, at what point do you step back and say, maybe we need to look at this further? Maybe even though it has cost us so much to build already, it might still be a better idea to stop the project altogether? Or do you foresee yourself ever being swayed by that argument, or do you just want to finish it no matter what?
Dub, that's a fair question and a valid question. I think that's on a lot of people's minds right now. The issue with Site C, as it stands right now, is poor management. It is poorly managed. It is over budget. It is over time. And there's been some concerns that have been brought to the forefront, especially with the stability of one of the cracks that are in the existing hill right now. In order to go forward, I think my recommendation has been and will be that they engage in an independent review in order to satisfy those concerns. The recommendations that come from that review give us a better idea. For us right now to say that, the numbers don't match as far as what the electricity is worth, et cetera. The dam's still not going to be done for another 4 years before we're actually seeing power from that. So, I made reference at the forum to a project that was built a few years ago in Medicine Hat. It was a solar project, and that project was a $13 million project that they now took a hoe to and collapsed the entire thing because it didn't work. So when some of these recommendations come looking at alternate ideas or alternate power, that's not working either. So we're this far into a project. Let's safely finish it. Let's get it back on track, back onto a budget that actually makes sense, that people can believe, and have 100 years of clean power.
And so you'd be in favor of continuing the project in spite of a review that you'd want. You don't want it halted while the review is happening.
I don't think there's any need to halt it while the review is happening. Any of the geotechnical work or engineering that needs to be done as far as the review and recommendation can happen concurrently.
Okay. All right. I want to switch gears again, talk a bit about the overdose crisis. You've talked about this, and again, in general, you and Dan seem to sort of see eye to eye on this. But I want to talk about safe injection sites as part of a plan to ameliorate the overdose crisis. Are you in favor of spending money on safe injection sites as part of the overall plan to get help for people and to hopefully slow down the number of people dying due to overdoses?
Dub, I'm not a fan of safe injection sites, and the reason, I mean, we've had this discussion, and we've had this discussion even on the council side of things, where the province had a ministerial order back from 2016 that would allow them to put any sort of a site, whether it's safe injection or harm reduction, in without community consultation. And the city of Fort St. John and the council was very proactive to ensure that that couldn't happen without community consultation. We need treatment facilities. We need ways to get people help. When my dad was an addict, up until and before he died, the facilities that I could not get him into, I feel would have been an enormous help. And at some point in time when he was even begging me to find him a facility, because there's the stages that you go through when you have an addiction. And when he finally got to the stage where he knew he needed help, there was no help for me to give him, because that's something that's never been done in British Columbia. It's done privately and provincially in Alberta, and there is facilities in Alberta. But for our residents to be able to get to those is not possible, and it doesn't make it very feasible. So, you know what, I think we need to start looking at what the actual root issue is before we can ever fix the problem. And the root issue is not safe injection sites. It is treatment. It is education. It is mental health. In a recent study, 33% of people who had recovered from addictions had come forward and said that it was caused from a mental health issue. So when the funds aren't going towards mental health, and the funds aren't going towards treatment facilities and education and ways that people who want to change their lives and want to get better, then that's a moot point. That's where we need to start.
All right, switching gears again, Trevor. You made a comment at the All Candidates Forum here in Fort St. John. You want to end the state of emergency. You think it should have ended already around COVID-19 here in BC. Do you think this government is taking COVID too seriously, or do you think that the state of emergency is just a needless part of their plan to recover and your plan to recover and move forward in the era of COVID?
I don't think, I mean, the state of recovery as far as needless for COVID, no. The recovery or the emergency act that we're in right now, it's being used to use measures that the government can control. And I think that's what's wrong. We've had phenomenal recommendations from Dr. Henry. I mean, she's world-class act. People all over Canada, other provinces, and throughout North America have raved about her recommendations. But at the end of the day, people also need to remember that they've made the change. They made the difference. They listened to her recommendations in order to keep their families safe. COVID's real. It's here. And all of us at some point in time know somebody who's either been affected from it or unfortunately have passed away from it, which we've seen in this region as well. But the Emergency Act as it stands, for the authority for the province to do whatever they like, is not recommended or needed at this point in time. We need to focus on a recovery. We need to focus on our economy. We need to focus on building jobs and keeping people safe under the direction of Dr. Henry.
All right, and one final question for you, Trevor. The the Conservative Party of BC is running 19 candidates in this election, by my count. So in the absolute best case scenario, and it's exceptionally unlikely, I have to say, your party could hold the balance of power in a minority government. So what are you hoping to accomplish by running on a platform in a different party that in a lot of ways is similar and sort of espousing views that's very similar to Mr. Davies in the BC Liberal Party? Why is this so important to you to not work with the Liberals and sort of blaze your own trail in this way?
Dub, that's a great question. And we do. We have 19 quality local candidates that are shopping in the communities that they're going to represent. They live there, their neighbors, their families. The reason I got involved with the Conservative Party on the leadership side was, I wanted to see a party that would listen to people, and it would ensure that it was a grassroots made in BC plan. So, we spent last year and into this year, since I've been the leader, communicating with British Columbians all over the province and ensuring that we put together a platform that resonated with them. And I don't think it's whether their platforms are similar or our platforms are similar, because even the NDP have similar feelings or similar thoughts towards some of the things that we do. And I think it's about representation. So no, we don't have, 87 candidates or 86 candidates or even 74 like the Greens. We have 19 candidates that are dedicated to going forward and being able to be a champion and a voice for their regions and their ridings, their communities, and the people that they represent. And I'm literally on my way tomorrow to go down and see most of those. So, it's not about doing my own thing or blazing my own trail. It was about the way that I felt I could best represent my riding and my province.
All right, Trevor, we'll have to leave it there, but I thank you for taking some time to chat with us today.
Have a great day.
That's Trevor Bolin, the candidate for the Conservative Party of BC in Peace River North riding. We'll be right back to talk to the BC Liberal candidate Dan Davies right after this on Moose Talks. Complete Safety Services, with 10 years serving the Peace area, they strive to offer the best safety service in the oil and gas industry. Complete Safety Services specializes in safety with their experienced field safety advisors and medics. Complete Safety Services can prepare companies for their core, develop written safety programs, and manage ISN and comply works. Complete Safety Services also offers traffic control, hotshot, and pilot car services on 100th Street. Look them up online at completesafety.ca. As a 100% Indigenous-owned company, they are proud to support the oil and gas industry.
Our jobs are being threatened. BC's economy is now in last place due to NDP policies. We need to change that. I'm Dan Davies, and I'm asking you re-elect me on October 24th. The BC Liberals have a plan to restore confidence and rebuild BC with candidates running in all 87 ridings. We need to attract investors, get pipelines built, restart forestry, support our farmers, and take care of people. And we have a plan. Giving you choice of auto insurance, removing the PST, improving healthcare, supporting small business, just to mention a few. On October 24th, I'm asking that you re-elect me, Dan Davies.
Authorized by David Goldsmith, financial agent for the BC Liberal Party, 1-800-567-2257.
These last few months have been all about kicking back at home. And during this time, you may have noticed your floors aren't what they used to be. So head to Bronze Flooring and check out their fall specials throughout the store on laminate, hardwood, ceramic, carpet, vinyl, and more. Bronze Flooring is back to normal hours Monday through Saturday, and they're ready to help you with all your fall flooring plans. Bronze Flooring in the Big Bronze Building and online at bronzeflooring.com.
There's always something going on in the energetic city, and the staff from the City of Fort St. John Recreation Department have planned a variety of exciting programs and events. Here's what's coming up.
Have a collection of leaves, grass clippings, or plant trimmings just sitting in your yard? Bring it to the Kids Arena Fieldhouse parking lot on October 17th from 10 to 3, and the neat crew will take care of it.
For more information on this event, view the Recreation and Leisure Guide at fortstjohn.ca or follow the City of Fort St. John Recreation on Facebook.
Feel good for life with Homesteader Health Foods, serving Fort St. John for over 20 years. To show you just how much your business means to them, they're having a customer appreciation event October 20th to 22nd. Enjoy samples, giveaways, and 20% off almost everything store-wide. The customer appreciation event is 3 days long to allow for spacing restrictions so you can shop comfortably and safely. Homesteader Health Foods since 1989 on the corner of 97th Avenue and 100th Street, on Facebook and at homesteaderhealth.com.
Watch this show live on Facebook or download the podcast at energeticcity.ca.
Back on Moose Talks, I'm Dub Craig. We're now joined by Dan Davies, the BC Liberal Party candidate here in Peace River North. Dan, thank you for coming on Moose Talks.
Everyone.
Excellent. Okay. So again, I'm going to run through some things that you guys discussed at the All Candidates Forum and talk a little bit more about them. Again, on the carbon tax, you fundamentally disagree with Trevor Bolin on this. Your parties disagree. But I will say the BC Liberals originally implemented the carbon tax in 2008, I believe. So why is it a good idea in general, in principle anyway, and how would you and the party approach the use of it differently than the NDP? I think you talked a bit about this at the forum.
Yeah, I did, and I think it's important. It is not that we are 100% on board with it. We read the science and looked at a lot of the reports recently. It's the reality of it. We have 3 sitting premiers right now: Jason Kenney, Scott Moe, and Doug Ford, that have all tried to repeal this. One of them's in court right now. The other 2 have lost. What we need to do is we need to somehow, once things change, whether we have a federal government change or otherwise, we need to be fighting the carbon tax and coming up with new ideas. And we recognize in 12 years, some things have changed. Science has changed in anything. And I'm a big believer, our party's a big believer in supporting science and fact. So what we need to do in the meantime is, first of all, the NDP raised it to $50. We need to bring it back to the old rate. Revenue neutral it used to be. It used to be used to give back grants back to people, certainly up here that live in colder climates, use more natural gas, through rebates, through retrofits. Industry could apply for, if they were innovating and such. So it went back to people as a net zero tax. Now it's a tax grab. So we need to change that. So I think that's the biggest difference. It's not that we agree with the carbon tax. I mean, this was done 12 years ago by, 3 premiers ago now. Like I say, things have changed since then, and we need to just be looking at how to best do it, how to best move forward. And like I say, in the meantime, we need to fit within that framework and see what that looks like and how the outcome of that goes.
All right, Dan. Well, I mean, if you're going to, I assume immediately kind of reduce the carbon tax to 25, as you alluded, then does that mean in the next mandate, if the Liberal Party, the BC Liberal Party gets one, that would be something you would try to accomplish within kind of that 4 years, is to look at a carbon tax, find out if there's something better you can be doing?
Well, again, I think a lot of it depends on the federal government. BC has already gone at numerous occasions. We know this recently at no end, challenging the Supreme Court on Trans Mountain, on a few other things. I would fear to guess how much money the NDP have spent of our money on fighting these battles. So I think the biggest thing we need to do right now is to see what happens federally. Once that happens, I mean, if there is a reduction or if there is, a court ruling that says it is unconstitutional, then we have to have those discussions, what that looks like, what are options. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, Canada produces 1.6, percent of the CO2 emissions. BC is under 0.5%. If we all stopped using our cars, it would make no difference. So we need to be looking at doing things differently, and I think we can all accept that.
All right, I want to switch gears to sightseeing. I want to ask you a very similar question. Again, you and Trevor fundamentally agree on being in favor of the project and have been since the start and moving forward. But at what point do you say we need to look at this? We need to consider all the voices telling us that there might be problems with the costs going up and under mismanagement, as you both attribute to the NDP, with some of the safety, with how it's kind of fitting in the foundation of it. How do you look at that? Do you halt the project while you investigate with kind of another report, as Mr. Bolin suggested?
Yeah, no, absolutely, we don't halt it. I mean, this project is moving along. It's already into the multi-billions. To stop it and put everything back to the way it was would not be in the benefit of taxpayers of British Columbia. Absolutely. I have faith in the engineers. I have been on regular updates. There are some issues. I think the biggest thing that we need to start
seeing a little more of is transparency. We need to make sure that, this is owned by British Columbians, this project. We need to make sure that there's transparency, oversight. Government needs to take more account, I think more involvement. BC Hydro, they can't just say, well, that's, one of the prime contractors' issues. Everybody looks at that project as it's a BC Hydro project. So there needs to be more accountability, I think, to the people and more transparency, and that we completely agree with, and we certainly want to see. Again, I think it goes back, though, I do trust. There's a lot of engineers from multiple firms down there, all managing this. This isn't the first dam that's been built, like this. So I do have faith in the project. We just need to make sure that transparency is there. And I think another important piece is, and the ministry, Michelle Mungle, the Minister of Energy and Mines at the time, at the transition of government back in 2017, it was on time and on budget. So something has gone awry in the last 3.5 years.
All right. I want to talk about the overdose crisis again quickly. Treatment facilities. You guys talked about this at the All Candidates Forum, but I wanted to ask you specifically about safe injection sites. Are you in favor of them? Is the BC Liberal Party in favor of them as a part of the plan to ameliorate the overdose crisis?
So, this is a medical issue in many aspects. It's a mental health issue. The safe injection sites is only one step of a multifaceted step. We need to make sure that we can, help people out, get them back contributing to society, get them off their addictions. Safe injection sites, again, in consultation with communities, I think that is key. This is in many cases, a controversial issue, but it is part of a step to get people healed. But it is only one step of many. We need the wraparound supports. We need the addictions beds. When someone asks for help, they cannot wait for a day or 2 or 3. It needs to happen immediately. And I think that, that is one of the most important things. One of the bills that we introduced is called the Safe Care Act. And right now, a lot of people have, if their child is in addictions, there's nothing the family can do. And we think that is wrong. So there's a whole bunch of pieces that we need to be looking at, making sure that young people, parents can intervene and get them the medical help they need immediately. Foundry clubs, Fort St. John was supposed to receive a foundry. We need to have more of those. That is early intervention, that preventative piece. And I think that is, absolutely critical. And again, looking at the root causes. Mental health and addictions is a big issue. Prescription drugs, we need to have some sort of monitoring, and tighter controls of prescription drugs. So, it is a big, complex issue, but it's not being done right now. That's for sure.
All right, Dan. Let's talk about COVID-19 recovery again for a minute. Again, I thought it was very interesting that Trevor said he thinks he wants to end the state of emergency immediately. What's your response to that, and how would the Liberal government, BC Liberal government, my apologies, handle that differently? Would you keep using the state of emergency as part of the plan to move forward, or do you agree with Mr. Bolin that it's time to stop using that as a means?
Well, we need to certainly be looking at it, and when is that time to end it? When do we look at a regional approach? And I think that's the important part. Up in Fort Nelson here a couple times in the last week, they've had one case of COVID-19 since this pandemic started. So why are these sweeping rules that cover the entire province, regulation and otherwise, impacting Fort Nelson, impacting Terrace, Stewart, Fort St. John? We know that a lot of the issue happens in our major urban centers. So I think that is where we need to start going, is looking at a regional approach, and we've been calling for that for a while now. The one thing that does worry us, though, is the NDP have stated, that we are very likely in a state of emergency, until next year. That gives government sweeping powers, and that's what worries us. Powers to spend without oversight. The legislature doesn't have to come back, so there's no opposition to anything. So I think we need to start managing our economy and managing British Columbia much sooner than that, and we need to start looking at a regional approach. All
right, and finally, Dan, I wanted to ask you this. What do you say to people who are thinking about voting for Trevor Bolin and the BC Conservative Party? I mean, the debates to me revealed that you and Trevor agree on most things most of the time. And from a policy standpoint, that, you're not too much different. So I guess what I want to know is, why is a vote for you better than a vote for Trevor Bolin, especially since, again, both of you have a long track record of working in this community to make it better. I mean, you're both kind of standouts. So why should people vote for you and not think about voting for the Conservative Party?
Well, I think the biggest piece is next Saturday, I will either be in government or I will be in opposition. Both have a variety of tools available to them, a variety of tools that I use and have used in opposition over the last 3.5 years to move things forward here in the Peace region. And I think that's the biggest thing. The BC Conservatives only got 22% of the seats covered with a candidate. So even if they win all of them, they will still have third-party status. Like I say, there's no committees with that. There's no, your question period. You're given a question a month. It's hard to move anything forward. So I think that's the number one thing. A minority, I know that, people talk about, well, a minority, might not be a bad thing. Sonia Furstenau has come out saying that when she partnered, the Green Party partnered with the NDP, it was the biggest mistake they made. They got nothing over that 3 years. They got a couple private members' bills, which were more fluff than anything. But the biggest factor here, Dub, is it creates instability, uncertainty. And right now, that is one of our biggest things that we have in this province. We need to create certainty. We need to be able to attract those investment dollars into our province. And companies don't want to. We saw that right now. There's no reason the LP mill here should not be operating. And a lot of that is because there's uncertainty in our province. And a lot of that uncertainty in the last 3.5 years has come because we are in a minority government situation, which is always unstable. You just don't know. And people don't want to invest their dollars into something like that. So there is only, certainly in my opinion, and it's obviously biased, there is only one choice in Peace River North, and that's to elect a BC Liberal candidate. And that is me, to make sure that I can go forward and represent Peace River North with all the tools that are available to me.
All right, Dan, we'll have to leave it there. But thank you so much for taking some time to talk to us today.
Pleasure, Doug. You guys have a great day.
Absolutely. Dan Davies, the BC Liberal Party candidate for Peace River North. We'll be back to wrap things up on Moose Talks right after this.
If you ever get tired of your kids asking if they can borrow the vehicle and leaving a little messy,
or your parents telling you the car has a curfew and needs gas and needs to be home right now,
it might be time
for you to buy me a new car.
To learn how Fort City Chrysler can get you a great, safe vehicle for the right price and plan.
Fort City Chrysler can do that. They can get you into the vehicle you need for the price that works with a plan that suits you. From cars to trucks, the Chrysler name is solid for getting you and your people where they need to go.
Fort City Chrysler on the Alaska Highway.
Or at fortcitychrysler.ca. Does this mean that I'm paying for it?
Over the past 2 decades, Arctech Welding and Machining has evolved from welding and machining to Northern BC's go-to for custom steel and fabrication services. No matter the project, big or small, we offer structural steel fabrication with our 8-axis Vortman beam line, a computerized plasma torch, accommodating plates up to 8 by 24 feet. Our fleet of portable welding trucks come to you. Plus, we offer repairs, sandblasting, painting, and more. Check out our latest projects and start planning yours at arctech-welding.com.
For 25 years, you have been told what party you need to vote for in order to keep another party out. Hi, my name is Trevor Bolin. I'm the leader of the Conservative Party of British Columbia, and I'm here to tell you, you can and should vote for what representative you feel will listen to your needs, champion for this area, and work tirelessly to ensure that you are heard and that we are included. Peace River North, its communities and citizens are proud, strong, and resilient. I believe we can make change when we come together. I believe people should have a say in the government of today to shape the government of tomorrow. And I know that I can do that for this region on October 24th when you vote for me, Trevor Bolin.
This message is approved by the Conservative Party of BC.
Now, a Sports Boosters update.
Sign up soon for the Taylor Curling Club Friday Night Mixed League. First night will be November 13th. To enter, call Suzanne Lawson at 250-262-8125.
Send us your sports info, sports@moosefm.ca, or by fax, 263-9749. Sports Boosters on Moose FM. our community first. This is Moose Talks with Dub Craig on Moose FM.
Our thanks again to Dan Davies, the BC Liberal Party candidate, and Trevor Bolin, the Conservative Party of BC candidate for Peace River North, for taking some time to talk to us today. Again, we emailed, we called the BC NDP candidate Danielle Monroe. We emailed, we called the BC NDP party in general. Never got a response to have them on to talk to their candidates, so we tried. Anyway, voting is open now. If you want to do advanced voting, it's over at the North Peace Arena. It's happening every day until Wednesday from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. So you can do that if you so choose. And make sure if you got yourself a mail-in ballot and you haven't mailed it yet, you get it in the mail soon, because ballots arriving after voting closes on October 24th won't be counted. And finally, of course, stay up to date on all your election news. We just got over a week left of it over at energeticcity.ca. That does it for this episode of Moose Talks. The studio producer is Adam Rayburn. I'm Dub Craig. Be well.
Join us next Friday at 10 a.m. for another episode of Moose Talks, a weekly talk show about Fort St. John and the North Peace.